a change that we have that we just previewed last Friday to resounding success and applause by our peers. And so I really want to talk about who it's intended for and our timeline for getting that out. On Friday, there was this huge, like 5 hours or almost 5 hours. I think almost 5 hours. No, it was over 5 hours. Um, so there was this program called AI Teaching for Lawyers. And it was intended to be a 4-hour program from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And I know I checked in after 4 p.m. after I got out of a meeting because I could see it was going long and it was still going. So it was over 5 hours. And what it was intended to do was to provide a showcase for lawyers on how other lawyers and law firms and law adjacent businesses, how they were using AI. Oh, almost 900 people registered for this event. And we had 10-minute, we presenters, I was one of the presenters, had 10 minutes to present. So that just gives you an idea of the breadth and the number of presentations that people were being given. Okay, it was pretty amazing. Um, so um, so we presented on something that we've been building in the firm. And I just want to pull up real quick to I'm not going to do my full 10-minute presentation here, but I did want to give you an idea of why we did it. So what we noticed is that clients were having to send an email, schedule a call, or book a meeting to get basic questions answered, right? So just imagine these questions that we had here today. They would have to get it over to us and then we'd have to get the answer back to them. And I would hear things by clients who would say things like, I didn't want to bother you with that around a question that they had. At the same time, clients were still getting their questions answered. They were taking their questions to an online group and asking there where it didn't feel like they were bothering someone, right? Or they were going usually to a search engine like Google, or they were going to an LLM like ChatGPT and asking their question there. And I actually like it when clients talk to us about their use of ChatGPT and Gemini, not so that I could tell them don't do that, but I like it because when they are using it as a way of preparing their conversations with us, I can see the clear connection that they have to the substance of what they're talking about, and it helps them to develop their thought process. I tell people you don't want to use ChatGPT as like a one question search engine because it really is intended to be a more conversational way of talking. That's the Gen AI part of it, the generative artificial intelligence part of it, is that it's intended to be more conversational. But I actually don't mind clients using it. And I feel like the more they're willing to talk to us about it, the more we can help give them tips and guidance on how to really get good usage from it, right? So that the next time they go use it, we could give them tips on how to do it to really hone in on things. But, if even if they didn't want to bother an attorney, they might reach out to our caseworker or to a paralegal and they can give advice, but if they're giving advice as opposed to information, then they have to clear it with an attorney first. And so I kept thinking about that friction, right? How can we make it slippery for clients? Because they have a need, they're getting it filled, but it's not quite how they want it to be filled. So what I noticed is that we have this habit in our firm anyway of providing information. You may notice that Anna is logged in through our educational affiliate, Legal Training Studio. We have an entirely separate company that houses our intellectual property and provides our content and information around legal issues and legal work, not legal work, but legal issues and information, it houses that intellectual property there, and that's where we provide it to the public, and keeping it separate from the regulated practice of law. And so we notice that a lot of our advice pulls from this library of materials as a base, and then customizes it for the specific information for the client. So the selection of the piece of advice is more of the representation, because we're selecting this advice, this guidance, as being relevant for that client's particular situation. And then the additional customization that we provide when delivering it is the advice. But there's still that huge library of material that we build up over time. It's a lot. It's a lot of content. So we took that and then we built more content. We took that as a base. And then we said, what if we asked Copilot? Microsoft 365 is our business suite. We signed up for Microsoft Copilot, and then we said, what if we asked it to review the questions that were asked and create a list of generic, like remove all identifiers and just create a list of all the questions that were asked previously in the last year, let's say, and categorize it into different practice areas. So then we kind of reviewed it and refined the list, and then we built more content based off of that list. We said, let's create a 1 to 2 page guidance document for these questions. Questions like the ones you saw today, right? And so they might be inspired by someone's situation, but it's not their specific situation, and it may not even apply to someone else. It depends. You still need a lawyer to help with that. But we said, what if we use that as our base of materials, and we created our own agent? So in March, we signed up for this program, AI Sprint for Lawyers, different from AI Teaching for Lawyers, but that was a 5-week course where the entire firm participated to learn more about AI and how to use it in a law firm context. And we learned how to build an agent. And there was a lot of training around ethics issues and privacy issues. And that's why we chose to build our agent in Copilot for the privacy concerns, because we could set the settings up the way that we needed to from an ethics standpoint. And we have a workable agent where we can plug in questions and get really good responses that are based solely off of our bank of material that brings together our collective years of experience. We have over a century, over 100 years of legal experience from the attorneys in our firm. And we now have an agent where people can tap into that with keystrokes, just like they would if they went to Google or if they went to ChatGPT. And so I felt like what we were doing was pretty innovative, but bringing it to our peers and showing them how this agent works, where we didn't have to disclose any client information. We just opened it up and typed in a few questions so that they can see that it actually generates content, and they can see the sources of the content, like the client guides that we created. It was really validating to hear people's responses, and that they felt like, wow, this is so important. So many attorneys are afraid for their clients to use ChatGPT or Google, and they want them to have those barriers, to have to book a call or send an email before they get information. I said, well, what if they can still get it the way they like to get it? 10 p.m. at night, let me just type in this question because I'm wondering about it. But instead of getting it from a source that you don't quite trust, why not get it from a source that you do trust? So that's where we are. I'm pretty excited about it. And, that's basically what went into developing it. We actually have 2 agents, one that we created in Copilot Studio that's supposed to be client facing, and one that is internal for our internal use. And so what are our next steps with this? Well, I've talked about it with peers. I've kind of floated that we were working on this, I think, in our previous workshop or maybe 2 workshops back. But when will we actually make it available? Well, we have a goal of making it available to the public by the end of August because one, we need to give ourselves a deadline, but two, if we meet one of our big goals that we're going for right now, it means that it's either end of August or it won't happen until next year. So, we've got a deadline of end of August to make this available for use in a beta stage. And for by clients, and probably our client facing one will also probably be the public one, but that is still being decided. And, our next steps are we'll have additional conversations with Ethics Council and Privacy Council because we got some really good feedback when kind of demoing this to our peers. We've already been in touch with Ethics Council and Privacy Council about it, but now we need to go back to them and ask them these follow-up questions that we have about it. We need to implement their recommendations. We'll begin beta testing on the internal agent in a larger capacity. And I think my biggest thing where I get hung up is we've got to decide our platform for the client-facing agent. Like, are we going to keep it in Copilot Studio or put it somewhere else? And for me, my goal is to make sure that we choose a platform that makes it easy for clients to access it, to remember where it is, and to use it, right? So that to me is my biggest concern. And I know Sebastian, he's on here. He knows a lot about some of the tools that we use, and so does Anna, and they'll have some insights on which platforms that we decide that we can choose from for deploying it. And then, we do it and we announce it and we get clients in there and using it. So I'm really excited about it. Definitely let us know if you're interested in, if you don't want to miss the beta stage announcement. I'm sure it will be hard to miss, but we can always do a personal outreach to make sure that you're signed up for the beta testing on it. And the goal is to make it more available. So will it be to the point where people can upload their contracts and get our preliminary advice? I don't know if it will. I don't think we're at the stage of being able to have documents added, but certainly we already have guidance on what to look out for in certain types of contracts, right? So I do think it is, what you've mentioned there, David, at the end about wanting to consult with a lawyer. Our goal is to make it easier for people to go to a place that they trust for that guidance. And if we're that place that they trust, we want to make it really easy for them to access us. And this is one of the ways.